Hello again, everyone. Who wants to talk about Batgirl? Me. I want to talk about Batgirl. Ting! Specifically, I want to talk about Batgirl number 35, which is the new run of Batgirl. Don't be afraid about the number 35 there. It is the first in this kind of new story arc of hers, and you really don't need tons of knowledge of continuity. There's only like 2 points where it ever comes up, and very quickly it's all explained in as much context as you need. This cover may be super familiar to you. It got shared around like crazy in the run up to the volume's release because it showcases Babs Tarr's new design of Batgirl and her costume. And it's really, really cool. There's a lovely montage inside, actually, of her making the thing, and you can see it in some great detail. It's practical, it's stylish, it's just got so many like customizable facets to it, and it just looks like something you would actually want to kick ass in or go to a convention in, and you wouldn't be like drowning in sweat or unable to move or showing 90% of your skin. It's a very good costume design. Which is amazing, because this is Babs' first published work. I believe she isn't normally doing sequential art, so she hasn't got into this field yet. And yet there's already in development images of the little statuette figurine that's coming up for this Batgirl, which is going to be fantastic. The story starts with Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, moving to Burnside, a different area in Gotham. So we've got a new location, she's got new housemates, there's a whole new story arc. So there's no fear of continuity requirement at all, really. There are references to other DC characters, so if you do like other DC characters, then you know, don't worry, it is tie in with the major continuity. We have Black Canary, who is awesome. I freaking love Dinah. She's just hilarious, even though she's just pissed through this whole issue because she's been through some bad stuff. The issue has a very good split. It's really meaty. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's quite fast-paced, and so for a thin little issue, which I know that a lot of people get turned off, especially me, I get turned off as well, by having comic issues that are so thin and sometimes very, you know, really priced. One of the things I really like is that I'm not a fan of violence in comics, which sounds really weird, especially referring to superhero comics, but I find that it's often showcased and built up to as the big thing to do in a superhero comic is punch the hell out of each other, but especially if it's like Superman and Doomsday, they're both really good at punching people in the head. That's not interesting. That's like a normal fight, because they're both super strong, but also both super tough, so it's just normal, but more people die around them. That seems boring and weird and dumb. But Batgirl, Babs, doesn't have any, not Babs Tarr, but she's shortened Barbara to Babs, which is actually really good and works as a nickname. This is a lovely little reference to her new designer. She doesn't have any superpowers. She has a really good memory, and she's very logical. She's got an analytical brain. One of her friends refers to her like a brain like a computer, which can lead to these brilliant analytical scenes where she's trying to remember what happened at an event, and things are highlighting in blue or red depending if they're relevant. And she just kind of goes through procedurally, okay, what was there? Who was this person? I don't know this person. Do you know this person? Okay, they're fine. Do I know, did this person look it up on their version of Instagram? Okay, they're there, this. Okay, they look alright. They know this guy who's a friend of ours, so that's probably fine. This person, don't know at all. Okay, research. It's actually a detective comic, and that's fantastic, because Batman, you know, had this big thing with the detective comics. I loved Batwoman in the detective comics, which became Batwoman Elegy, the original run. And there's so much detectiving missing from a lot of the more recent portrayals of Batman, especially in the films. And I love that Batgirl brings that back. It brings it back to intrigue. It brings it back to, this is a normal human with some resources and some contacts, but that's really about it. She has training to actually make her being able to beat up like street mooks and muggles. You know, she can't take on Doomsday. She cannot do that at all. But she can figure out where somebody lives or where this person, how to find this person, how to make contact with them, and then figure out what they're doing this for. And it's really good to watch. Another thing I love is that it's an incredibly modern story with so many modern elements. There's not only dating apps, but there's a lot of app culture. There's their version of Instagram, their version of Snapchat, their version of some kind of dating app, Hook, and it looks like an actual thing. There's logo design and like page layout for the phone thing, and the layout of the pages in the comic is actually really good because it keeps intersplicing with technology and little bits like text updates and what music is playing, and it's really well thought through to be fast, non-clunky, but very telling, instead of just blitzing through a comic incredibly fast, which is such a thing with a very thin medium. You can linger on so many of the pages and just see all the details of what's going on, who's in the panels, and it is gorgeously drawn. Babs Tarr and Cameron Stewart have done a brilliant job of making the people just look so interesting, and like they got up and put their makeup on, their faces on, did their hair, whatever. They look like people. Casual, but believable people. Being believable, actually, there's a really good bit, which is that Batgirl, Barbara, has human proportions. She looks like she's drawn by someone who's met a fucking woman before. And isn't it good to see that in a goddamn comic? I mean, I love Batwoman, I really do, but the scenes when she's outside of her costume, compared to the scenes when she's in her costume, you would think she put in some massive fake pasties on top of those things sometimes, because, good God, that leather is tight, but it's like she suddenly gained 5 different cup sizes. Barbara is meant to actually be relatively young. It is commented upon that she's young, but an adult. But she looks like a human, and she has a waistline, and she has like well, basically a cinch going on with the tight jacket there to accentuate it. But there's a lot of her in casual clothing as well, like just getting up in the morning. And it's not invasive or creepy looking. Relaxed around her friend, and modest around the strangers around her, which is super good. As representation goes, we do have a straight cis lady as a lead, but having a lady as a lead is always good, because there's not a lot of that, at least not with good characters. Despite that, this story has a lot of inclusion of a nice variety of skin colours, a really good amount of inclusion of non-straight people, and by that I mean both gay and there's a bi or homo-flexible character. They didn't put a nail in the coffin of that one, but it was good to read and be like, oh, I thought you liked girls, and they're like, yeah, mostly. It's like, yes, that is the thing, that is totally a thing. Both that bisexuality or homoflexibility are a thing, or pansexuality is a thing, or whatever, it's a thing, and that someone's development and knowledge of their own sexuality, and their friends' awareness of their development of their own sexuality, changes over time. These are both things, and it's great to see them put down into paper. And it's not terribly in your face either. One of them is a casual reference, and that is a thing that's happened, but another one is actually like talking to someone to get information. And being gay in that thing is actually part of what they talk about. And they don't make it a massive deal out of it, but they do talk about how they think they were being tricked by this person because they clearly weren't. Which is really good. Really, really good. The writing in this is just solid. Really solid. Again, fantastic props to Brendan Fletcher and Cameron Stewart for just making this work. The writing in this it's fast-paced, as I say, but it's depthful. You get a lot of thinking through what you're putting into the book, not drowning yourself in too much detail, and it feels fluid. If you are worried that you will need to read a bajillion comics to make sense because it is one comic and you'll never get any real resolution, do not worry. Batgirl is well paced for that. Each issue I've had, 35, 36, and 37, has both a single fight, a single case to detective and figure out within each issue, but they resolve in each issue, and it does also build momentum towards a greater enemy, a greater threat going on. But you can read each of them individually and not be massively left behind. If you're wanting a long arc, I also really recommend this because it's got a very clear running theme going on. Each issue tackles someone who is, the villain is aiming for being a celebrity of some kind. It's questioning the nature of celebrity in the modern age, and how if you get to be a celebrity through not doing any of your own goddamn work, what is the point? And does it make you evil? And what will people do for fame? And who will they hurt to get there? That's the thing. These villains often deal with either identity theft or information theft, stealing the notoriety of others, or trying to damage other people's reputation to increase their own. It's got so much tie into modern issues of phone hacking, of information leaking, smear campaigns. This coming out during Gamergate is actually really apt. The villain in this is really well designed. He is an asshole and he speaks in hashtags. He's trying to make everything he says trend. I would totally recommend getting the new Batgirl run by Brendan Fletcher and Babs Tarr. Starting with issue 35, ask your local comic shop, or if you don't live near a local comic shop, then I recommend readcomics.com. They're super good, they have a decent selection. I cannot get Bee and Puppy Cat or the Lumberjanes off of there, but I can get Batgirl. so that helps. I will link below also to Kit or Die's podcast, Less Than Live, where she interviews both Brendan Fletcher, the writer, and Babs Tarr, the designer of Batgirl's new costume, and one of the artists, along with Cameron Stewart. Kit or Die's podcast is fantastic, and I can't stop recommending it. That is the thing. Upcoming comic reviews I want to talk about is the controversial Batgirl number 37. I honestly wouldn't worry about it because the creative team has responded incredibly well. It was an oversight on their part. And you know what? I'm going to put out I trust them. I trust them to rectify it and deal with it in their own time. And I'm going to do a whole other video about that, because they've started a conversation, and it's great that they've done that. They've not just swept it under the rug. I want to talk about Gotham Academy as well, which is Brendan Fletcher's other current work. Brand new. Totally brand new. There is no need to know about anything DC at all. If you're wanting to get into this one, it's got totally new characters and totally new environment. There is a maybe haunted, but very spooky academy in Gotham. And it's about these girls, and basically it's about living in Gotham, because it's a spooky, weird, crime-filled, horrible place. And like, how would you feel if you saw the bat signal every other day? How would it make you feel to know that the city's in constant danger, and that there's a big creepy guy in a bat suit that looks kind of gimpy, running around and beating people up? How would you feel going to an academy in this super spooky place where everything is spooky? That's gotta be difficult for a young person, and it's really cool, and I want to talk about it more. I mean, that's not the only comic I want to talk about, but those are the ones that are currently on my mind that I have the most issues of. Have you read Batgirl? Would you like any more information? Would you like me to talk about a different comic? Please let me know in the comments below, and I will try to respond to everything. The reason I don't have much time to make videos at the moment, I describe on my Patreon, which is a new thing I'm doing, because I have no money and no time. But check that out if you're interested. There's cool rewards and stuff. Oh, and Mike has been interested in potentially reviewing board games and RPGs. Are there any board games or RPGs you've wanted to try and would like to hear a review of, or something you're curious about or would like to know about? Let me know in the comments below as well, and I'll pass it on to him, because that's something he's really interested in doing. He loves a lot of White Wolf RPGs, and he loves tabletop games as well. He runs a whole gaming night over here. Have a Merry Christmas and stay geeky.